Signing number 2 is in for Bristol City, and it is former Preston North End striker Emil Riis Jacobson, who has joined on a 3-year deal. I'll be calling him Emil Riis this video and for future videos. 27-year-old has signed a 3-year contract at Ashton Gate amid a ton of interest from a whole load of clubs, and I'm sure a lot of clubs in the Championship as well. So Bristol City have done really well to get a hold of Emil Riis and have tied him to a pretty nice contract, I'd have imagined, in order to get him. Emil Riis has spent his last 5 years of his career in the Championship playing for Preston North End after signing for a pretty hefty fee. I think it must have been under Alex Neil, surely, that season. In his time at Preston, 41 goals in the league, and yeah, has produced a reasonable output considering the game time or the availability problems he's had for about a season of them. We'll dissect his seasons in a little bit more detail. So his first season in at Preston, you'd expect, new player, foreign, different league, Danish striker, English league, expect a little bit of adaptation. That's exactly what happened. 38 games, so no real availability issues. 2 goals and assists, gelling in. Season after that, really real big improvement, a stark improvement actually. 44 games, again, no availability issues, 16 goals, 5 assists, 21 goal contributions. Real nice output for a side in Preston who, and I don't want this to come across as disrespectful because we've been in the same position for God knows how long and up until last season, and Preston up until last season as well. So I'm in mid-table, meandering, not really doing a hell of a lot in the Championship, not really achieving a hell of a lot. So a good output, a very, very acceptable output. 22-23 and then 23-24 interlinked because he does his ACL. So only really available for half of the games, only plays half of the games in both campaigns. 5 goals in 22-23, 23-24, produced 6 goals and 2 assists. So still not horrific numbers. And if you, it's a risky business extrapolation, but if you extrapolate it, it's pretty much double figures for goals and goals. So it's not a bad output from Emil Riis. And last season for a Preston side, he played 45 games for a Preston side who were 20th, and right up until the last day of the season at Ashton Gate, where they came and drew 2-2, right in the middle of a pretty brutal relegation battle down near the bottom. And Preston pretty abject towards the back end of the season. Emil Riis produced 12 goals and 2 assists. Now, the football fans are weird, and you'll see a lot of Preston fans sort of being quite critical of Emil Riis. And I don't watch Preston as much as them, so they are completely entitled to their opinion. They are probably right. So, despite these goal outputs, I was quite intrigued by that, and I thought, well, what are the comments they're making, and what are maybe some of the statistical underlying data maybe suggesting that they're probably right, and maybe he just produces a goal out of nowhere, and the performance generally is sort of meh, and actually this guy can produce something out of nothing, be in the right place at the right moment, sort of striker. Obviously, that's great, but you also want the overall performance to go with it. So I had a little bit of a look. 6'2", so physically he should be really, really imposing, right? And he should be sort of someone Championship defenders look at and go, right, this guy's going to be an absolute handful to deal with off set pieces, running in behind, just generally being there, giving a little nudge and stuff. The numbers for his aerial duels won percentages and just general aerial duels won doesn't really back that up, I have to say, and I was a little bit disappointed in that. Now, this is from last season, and again, pinch of salt with all of this. Preston were really horrendous, or were a lot worse than they normally are in the Championship last season. 20th place, as I mentioned. So again, a lot of these numbers have to be taken a little bit of a pinch of salt. But last season is one I'm focused on because it was the most recent one. 31.3% of aerial duels won that he competed in, which I think puts him in sort of the bottom 47.1%, which is not ideal, especially for someone, as I mentioned, 6'2", should be aerially imposing, should be really, really dominant. The numbers doesn't quite back that up, unfortunately. However, his pressing numbers are pretty decent, and actually, in terms of number of percentage possession one in the final third, really good, and actually puts him not right near the top of the division compared to other strikers in the championship last season. 0.73 times he per 90 he won the ball up the pitch, which I think only 17% of strikers are better than that. And again, for a pressing side that Heckingbottom style of football, stuff like that, Ryan Lowe style of football, you have to take that all with a pinch of salt. So actually, that's not bad at all. And if we think about how that's going to reflect into Gerhard Struber, we'll talk about that. His style of play, we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in a minute. Actually, he's pretty decent. He's not the best on the ball. The possession numbers, his possession numbers do reflect that as well. So there are some stark advantages to this signing, some really good positives. Free signing, so no transfer fee, but sure we'd have paid some nice hefty wages to get him through the door because of all the competition I mentioned. His pressing numbers are pretty good. That should translate well to Gerhard Struber's style of football. 27, so a nice sort of a relatively decent age. 5 seasons in the championship, so we're not going to have to really worry about him acclimatising to England, the championship, the physicality of it all, and has produced some good numbers in the championship as well. 41 league goals I mentioned, so that's 6. I'd say pretty decent positives for me this signing. A few negatives. Not the best in the air, despite his height and how that should look. It doesn't necessarily reflect that way, and fan opinion from Preston fans may suggest that as well. Number 2, not best on the ball, but you can forgive that if you can score an outrageous goal out of nowhere, or be just really good in the air. If you can improve that, and we can forget on the in possession stuff. The ACL injury between those 2 seasons, I'm pretty sure that's when that happened. Is a little bit of a problem, is a little bit of a concern, but again, it's not. If that's a one-off thing, that's fine. Get on with it. He's played 1 full season in the championship, which is not easy after that. So wouldn't be the worst thing. And yeah, those wages are pretty hefty. So if this does go sort of tits up, well, we're kind of stuck up with a player who is probably on high wages, who isn't really performing for Bristol City. So those are the real sort of key pros and cons to Emil Riis. I think I'm on the opinion that this is quite a good signing, and a large part of this is because of how I think he's going to fit into Gerhard Struber's style of football. As I drop my notes, which I shouldn't do, but yeah, I quite like this signing because of the possession, the pressing numbers. He has to, I think, improve on those aerial numbers, and I think it has to be sort of nearer to the top of the division compared to other strikers in the division for those aerial numbers. We would have brought him in with that sort of in mind, because if you look at our current options up top, Sinclair Armstrong, Fally Mayulu, both sort of flattered to deceive last season, didn't really stake their claim for number 1, hence why Nahki Wells largely was the number 1 last season. Now, Riis would have probably been brought in, well, definitely would have been brought in with Struber's approval, would have probably been brought in to play for Bristol City regularly, would probably be the starting striker for Bristol City next season. Is he an upgrade on Nahki Wells? I think we'll find out, won't we? I don't think we can say for certain in terms of how he's sort of going to translate into Struber's system until we actually see Struber's system in play completely. Because we're a little bit of we can infer as I've done with this signing, but we don't completely know. So it's not really as black and white as is he an upgrade Nahki Wells, because does Nahki Wells fit into Struber's system as well as Riis does? No. But does Riis fit into Manning's system as well as Nahki Wells does? No. So I think it's a little bit of a I think this signing is probably a better fit and a better mould to what Struber wants compared to what Nahki Wells the player is. If Manning was still here and we made this signing and we'd signed Nahki Wells, signed Emil Riis as a replacement for Nahki Wells, and Manning was still here, I'd be a little bit sort of befuddled by that, and I'd be a little bit confused by that. But this, I think, makes a little bit more sense. I don't think Bristol City could have done a hell of a lot better, if I'm being brutally honest. I think there's a lot of sort of there's a lot of players out there who, are we going to go abroad again? That would cost money. That would take time, as we've seen with Fally. That would just be inconvenient. This, I think, probably is is a very good. It's probably the best option we could have probably had, and I think that's the be all and end all of it. I think this is probably one of the best options that Bristol City could have got out there and got, and I think that in itself says something. So yeah, welcome to Bristol City, I suppose. Emil Riis. A lot of things to unpack in terms of how he fits into Struber's system. You know, is it as black and white to say he's an upgrade on Naki Wells and that's it, full stop? Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, I quite like this signing, and I think it's going to be a nice translation into Gerhard Struber's system. And you know, large proportions of his Preston North End career was Ryan Lowe, and then this season was Hacking Bottom, wasn't it? So I think it's going to be a nice system change for him, for Riis, and I think he's going to enjoy playing under Struber, and I think he might well enjoy the demands of Gerhard Struber's system as well. So hopefully this translates well, and hopefully Bristol have got themselves a very good championship forward who can produce the numbers that he has when he's been available for large proportions of the season for Preston to Bristol. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed it, hit like if you haven't already subscribed to the channel. Welcome, Emil Riis, and yeah, please score a load of goals for us. That would be very, very nice. And yeah, what does this mean for Fally and Sinclair Armstrong? I don't know. I don't know. Is one of them out the door? Is there going to be another one to come in through the door at Bristol City? Who knows? Who knows? Let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts on Emil Riis signing a 3-year contract at Bristol City, and will be hopefully a very successful signing.